y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Marissa, and I'm so glad that you're here today. In this video, I am taking you through a couple of dinners that we had last week. My goal was to try to get some things cleared out of my pantry and out of my fridge and freezer. And so I was needing to make room for some more stuff that I'm not canning, but some fresh produce that I am prepping for the freezer. So anyway, I needed to make room. So on this night, we were having Sloppy Joe tater tot casserole, and those 2 jars were the last of the Sloppy Joe mix that I had on my shelf in the pantry. They have the meat and everything already in them. This is one of my favorite things to can, and I am definitely going to stock up for next year. But I am just putting these 2 jars, these are pint jars, in the bottom of an 8x8 sprayed baking dish. And then on top of that, I'm going to add some shredded cheddar cheese. You can use any kind you like. I prefer the cheddar. And then we didn't have any tater tots, but we did have these potato crowns, which are similar, but my husband and I prefer the actual tater tots. I think that was a substitution way back when, and that's probably why we had some left over. But we didn't have enough to completely cover the top. I like a full layer of tater tots where the cheese and the sloppy joe mix and everything is completely covered. So I went to look in my freezer to see if I had any tater tots buried anywhere. I didn't, but I did have some smashed potatoes that I had fixed one night for dinner, way back when. It's been several months ago. And we had some left over, so I froze them. And that's what you're going to see me put on top of this casserole. And then after that, we're just going to get it into a 375-degree oven and bake for about 30 minutes. And when it comes out of the oven, you want to make sure it's bubbling. And I'm filling the top. I like my tater tots to be crispy. And so I was trying to get these smashed potatoes, a little bit on the crispy side too. One thing I didn't do before I put it in the oven was add salt and pepper to those potatoes. It's definitely needed, and so I do add some at the end. I don't know if you see it on video. But this turned out to be super good. It's one of my favorites. It's not one of my family's favorites, but oh yeah, I do salt it on camera. But yeah, sometimes they fix something else, sometimes they don't, which is why I just fix it in a small 8x8 casserole dish. But like I said, it's one of my favorites, and it's very easy to heat up the next day for lunch. And so, yeah, if you guys give this a try, let me know what you think about it. You don't have to use home canned sloppy joe mix. You can get some meat in a jar of manwich or sloppy joe mix, a can from the store, and make it that way, and it's still just as good. But I like my homemade pretty good as well. As you can see, I am serving this in our fine china, the styrofoam pattern. And yeah, anyway, this is really good, and hopefully you guys, if you haven't tried it, will give it a try and enjoy it as well. On this night, I was fixing one of my childhood favorites, cubed steak with mashed potatoes, biscuit, and gravy. Lately, if I fix cubed steak, I fix it in the crock pot and I make the brown gravy that goes with it. But on this night, I had taken some cube steak out of the freezer earlier that day, and I was just feeling nostalgic, and I had not fixed it this way in a very, very, very long time. So I'm going to fry up the cube steak and then make gravy from the drippings. And I'm cheating with the mashed potatoes. I'm using Bob Evans, but those are really good. So you can make your own, or you can do as I did and get help from the grocery store. So all I'm doing here is I was just measuring out my Bisquick, and then I realized, hey, just use the rest of it. And I'm just going to add buttermilk because that's all that I had. I usually add sour cream and Sprite. That's how I make my biscuits. And but I didn't have either of those, so I'm just adding buttermilk, and it does just fine. And these are going to be drop biscuits, so I'm just going to mix them up. They'll still be a little bit sticky, but I'm going to spray that little round cake pan thing there, and then just dump them out onto the pan. And here I am going to prepare my flour mixture. I just use flour. I think I did salt, pepper, obviously, and I may have only had some um, garden powder, excuse me, garlic powder, and garlic powder and minced onion. I usually will do all kinds of different things like seasoned salt. I'll just, mix it up. But on this night, I just used what I had on hand. And I don't use an egg mixture or anything like that. I just dip it in the flour, the cube steak. I do cut these cube steak pieces were kind of big. And so I cut them in half, which is how we used to do it growing up. And my mom always knew how to spread it all, or she would cut them up. One piece she would cut up into two pieces and make it look like we had more. And so yeah, that just sticks with me. So I am going to get my cube steak coated in the flour, cut up and then coated in the flour, and then I'm adding some oil, and I think I do some butter here in a little bit to the pan as well. So I'm just going to fry these up until the juices run clear, and there's a little bit of a crust on both sides. I think it was about roughly 5 to 6 minutes on both sides, and then they were ready to take out of the pan. So here I'm getting my shortcut ready. I'm just going to poke some holes in the top of these Bob Evans mashed potatoes and get those in the oven, not oven, in the microwave, and get those cooking as well. I like to have a good little bit of crust on both sides of the cube steak. And if you're kind of curious on how to make sure it's done on both ends, both sides, it's, you kind of use the same rule as you would if you were frying chicken. You know, chicken, once you put it in the hot pan, you don't move it until the pan releases it. That's kind of how it is with the cube steak as well. Now, I am scraping up all of these bits because growing up, this was the best part of this meal. Us kids would fight for who was going to get all the crummies. Those are not healthy at all, but oh my goodness, so good. So I always scrape these out. My mom and dad, when they would fix it, would always scrape these out of the pan, and it was it was kind of like an appetizer for us. We loved the little crummies. But as you can see, I added butter to the pan, and then I'm going to add some bacon grease and flour, and I'm going to make a roux because I am going to make gravy. Now, when I make gravy, I always use evaporated milk. That's how my mom did it. Um, that's just how I do it. And I have used milk before if I didn't have any canned evaporated milk, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to have the canned milk to make my gravy with, and that's just the way we like it. So I pour a whole can of evaporated milk into the pan once my roux has cooked down a little bit, cooked a little bit of the flour flavor out of it. And then I fill that can up with water, and as I am stirring and it gets thick, then I just continue to add a little bit of water so that it doesn't get too thick and it becomes a good consistency once it starts to boil. And then I'm just going to whisk and keep doing it till all that flour has dissolved, all of the roux has dissolved. And as I am whisking it and stirring it, I am trying to get up a lot of those little flavorful bits off the bottom of the pan. You do want to add salt and pepper, and as it comes to a boil, I'm just going to add the water from the can, and I just kind of keep stirring it until it's the consistency that I like, and then I'll take it off the heat and just keep it warm until ready to serve. Once everything is done and perfectly cooked the way that we like it, I'm going to get the biscuits out of the oven and the mashed potatoes, and I just get everything on the plate and I cover everything with gravy. And that is how we eat it, and that's how we love it. And yeah, so if you guys try any of these recipes, let me know what you think. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't already. We do all kinds of things like this on my channel. So, yeah, hope that you guys enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.